What's up guys, I'm Amanda, the Botanical Brunette, and welcome to my channel. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about one of my absolute favorite plants right now. I wanted to do a care guide on this plant because not only is it one of my favorites, but it is the easiest plant to care for. It's not really super common, and I also feel like it's going to make a comeback this year. So I wanted to do a care guide on this plant and just kind of show you guys how to care for the Philodendron Goeldii, or the Fun Bun. Here is this beauty. Look at this new leaf that just unfurled. So pretty. Oh, I am in love with this plant. Like, it is so fun. Like, I mean, the Philodendron Fun Bun is what it's nicknamed, and it's definitely a fun plant. Now, this philodendron is, again, one of my easier plants. This plant has grown so fast for me. So I wanted to give you guys some care tips and let you guys know what I'm doing for this plant so your guys' Philodendron Fun Buns can grow just as fast as this Goeldii. Let's talk about lighting. So for the Philodendron Goeldii, lighting can be pretty sporadic. You can put a Goeldii in lower to medium light. I wouldn't suggest completely lower light. If you do that, it won't grow as fast and it will definitely give you smaller leaves, but it can tolerate lower-ish light. So that is actually really cool for the philodendron because mainly philodendrons are super picky with their lighting situation, and this one doesn't seem to be an issue. Ideally, I would say put this in a bright location that gets dappled sunlight. Even just a little bit of direct morning sun would be fine, or evening sun, but I wouldn't let it get to afternoon sun. I do have a leaf here that has been kind of next to my southeast window, and that's basically what happened. It got a little bit too much sun and it burned a little bit. So my southeast window can get a little harsh in the afternoon hours. So you want to make sure that you're not getting that bright afternoon like sun rays that kind of come down. Make sure that you keep this in kind of a, like I said, a dappled light. You can have light kind of shine through another plant, or you can have like I said, like morning to like evening sun would be okay. Yeah, other than that, I think it's really cool that this can tolerate really any kind of lighting situation. So that's definitely a +1 for this plant. So for watering for the Goeldii, I would suggest watering it really just like any other plant. You want to make sure that you check it and make sure that the top 2 inches of soil are dry. You can either take your finger and kind of put it in and kind of like feel it, or you can also do a chopstick, basically sticking a chopstick in, and when it comes out, if the soil is really stuck onto it, then it's moist enough. Of course, invest in a moisture meter if you don't have one. It will be your best friend when it comes to watering, and it will help prevent against root rot, which is a common issue with these Philodendron Goeldii. They are very prone to root rot. They do like a little bit of a richer soil, which I'll get into in a minute, but they do like a little bit of a richer soil, so you want to make sure that your watering is going to be not super frequent. So for me, for watering, I water this Goeldii about every week. I really just want to make sure that the soil stays moist, but not super wet and not super like drenched, because again, you're gonna want to make sure that it's not going to root rot, which is, like I said, a common problem. So because this is such an easygoing plant, humidity is not going to be an issue. So for humidity for this plant, because this is a really easy to care for plant and a really no frills house plant, this is going to be okay and normal humidity. So you can keep it in like 30 to 40% humidity and it will be okay, which is your typical house humidity levels. But it would be really appreciative if you gave it more humidity. So putting it kind of near a humidifier. I mean, they'd prefer it to be over 50%, but if you can't mimic that, they're super fine with that and they'll be completely forgiving. The only thing I've noticed with philodendrons, and I haven't noticed it with the Goeldii, but I've noticed that if you don't give it enough humidity, then they get stuck. Basically, you have to take like a wet Q-tip and get it unstuck, or the leaf might kind of die or even rot inside the sheath. So you want to make sure that you kind of give it enough humidity in a sense where it's going to not get stuck. But again, if you don't want to mimic that, you're completely fine and it will be probably completely fine without it. For temperature, it's pretty in a big range. It's actually on the lower side of philodendrons. So most philodendrons don't like to be under 60 degrees, but this one I found in my research is okay to be 50 degrees. If you get like a cold snap in your house or whatever, I don't know why it would be 50 degrees in your house, but if it does get to that temperature, it will be okay. Anything below that, it's gonna be unhappy, but I'm sure you are too. And for the highs for this plant, it said 85 when I did my research. I mean, it could probably get up to 90, 95. That would be fine. Just that's more of an ideal like temperature for this plant. So you can go a little bit higher or a little lower. I mean, I would keep it in the 50 to 85 range temperature wise. I mean, my big rule of thumb for really any plant is if you're comfortable, they're comfortable. If you're comfortable in your house, your plants are probably fine. So let's get into soil. Soil for this philodendron, you want to keep it in a loose, chunky soil. So I actually have this in this pot, but I have it in this atomic pickle little reusable jar just because I like the clear pots. I like to see the root action. So you can see the roots are growing really, really well and super happy about that. You can also see them kind of coming down as well. It doesn't look like it needs to be repotted. I also have this cute little plant charm that I'm going to take off, kind of slid down and put it up there. So the soil, really loose, chunky, barky soil. I like to do that with all of my philodendrons, but with this one, you can add a little bit of coco coir or sphagnum moss to kind of maintain that moisture. Even like adding a little bit of like peat moss would be okay to your soils, but you want to make sure that it is fast draining. So adding the perlite or bark or really anything that's going to really chunky that soil is going to be beneficial because that will also help prevent against root rot. For propagation, these plants were actually kind of hard to find, like how to propagate them. Apparently, once it grows a little bit more, you'll get like these nodes. I don't have any, but like normal like tree like philodendrons, you're gonna get these nodes. I mean, I do have a little tiny node in there. I don't even know if I can even get the camera to focus, but like right in there, see that little yellow dot? You can cut the stem 2 to 3 inches down and then just plant it right in soil, kind of like you would propagate a Dracaena. Kind of the same way. You just take a stem cutting and then just plant that stem right in the soil after you have calloused over the cutting. Or you can also air layer the philodendron too. You don't have to cut it off. You can just air layer while wrapping the air layering. I have a whole air layering video if you want to check that out. But yeah, so it's kind of not a super easy plant to propagate as far as I can tell. I have not tried to propagate this plant, so I kind of was going off of what the internet told me. The growth pattern for this plant is probably the most intriguing. So these leaves eventually, so you can see, so this is kind of an immature leaf. So this is one of the first leaves that I got on this plant where you can start to see a little bit of a ring going. And then going on to this leaf, you can start to see it kind of starting to ring a little bit more. And then onto this leaf, which is one of my newer leaves versus the one that just unfurled, but this leaf starting to ring even more. So eventually when their leaves are mature, it's going to completely ring around, which is super cool. And the ring will wind up getting wider and bigger. So I think that's a really cool thing that these plants do. It's a very unique kind of growth. I do love like the star-like leaf pattern that they have. And also their leaves are just so rich and shiny. Like it is such a kind of basic plant, but the growth pattern really kind of gives that little bit of edge. It also will grow upward, so it will grow sort of tree-like. You can get a stake for it or something like that to have it grow on, or even give it a little bit of stabilization. I've seen pictures of these kind of growing in the wild and stuff, and they kind of look more of like a Philodendron Cilium or like a Philodendron Florida beauty. So they kind of grow upward like that. Of course, mine isn't like that yet. Mine is still sort of immature. I actually only got this last year, so it's not growing that tree-like thing yet, but eventually we might get some. Really, the Philodendron Goeldii or Fun Bun is just such a fun plant to add into your collection. Like I said, this plant is becoming one of my absolute favorite plants. Like, I love this plant. It's just so easy, so like, I don't know, it's just so fun. Like, it really is. Like, it really lives up to its nickname. For price range, these kind of vary in prices. They typically are pretty inexpensive. You can find them for probably about this size, about $30. And then obviously the smaller you go, this, you know, smaller the price, bigger you go, bigger price. But these are pretty average with high plant prices. So that is it. That's just like my little quick care guide for this Philodendron Goeldii. Again, one of my absolute favorites at the moment. I just love this plant so much. It makes such a good statement. It's easy. If you guys saw my last video, it kind of checks off most of the boxes for the plant predictions. So I love this plant so much. Let me know in the comments if you have a Philodendron Goeldii or if you're planning on getting one this year. So let me know in the comments, but that's it for today. I hope you guys all have a great day and stay botanical.